He says to me, when you kiss someone, maybe use less tongue.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Ignore my little doggy, she'll be asleep on my shoulder. Hopefully she won't get traumatized by today's story. But have you ever been on a first date and when you left you thought, what the hell was that? Or you couldn't wait to get out? So let's listen to today's story and see what happened to her. Let's go.
Every time I re-download Hinge, I am immediately and aggressively reminded why I stay the fuck off that app.
Oh no.
So I matched with a guy last week. Conversation's good. He says he wants to take me out that Thursday. He sends me the place. He sends me the time. He's complimenting me nonstop through text. Everything's great. First red flag. I sent him an outfit pic of what I was wearing to a game night I was hosting. It happened to be a Drake's Her Loss album cover t-shirt. And this man texts me back and he says, oh, she's one of those. Next message, hot take, but Drake is trash. I brush it off. Maybe he just has interesting music taste. I don't know. Conversation continues here and there. Boom, it's Thursday. We get inside. He opens the door. He pulls out my seat. You know, all those good stuff.
Good start, good start.
Everything's fine. I even text my roommate like, oh, he's cute. This is fun. Until we start talking about our families. So he's 6'8", and he's talking about how his family is all very solid. Like, not super muscular, not fat, all very tall, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh yeah, kind of similar with my family. My dad's 6'6", my brother's 6'7", all my sisters.
Where all these tall people come from? 6'8"? Oh my god, that's like a giant. Like, I'm 5'6", and I'm like average height, I think.
Are tall, I'm tall. And then he's like, oh yeah, my sister though, she's put on a lot of weight. And I'm like, oh?
What?
And he's like, yeah, it's gotten pretty out of hand and we don't know how to tell her. And I'm like, oh damn. And he's like, yeah, if you look at pictures of her now and pictures of her at high school, it's crazy. Mind you, she's 28, a grown woman. You are comparing her to 10 years ago.
Yeah, like, from my own experience, okay, like, you cannot compare someone from college or school to when they're like not fully grown, but when they're like older, like 30 or like late 20s and like even older. Like, your body changes, like you look like a woman or like a man, like you don't look like a girl or boy anymore. Like, they're so simple. But what a odd conversation to bring into your date. Like, why are you talking about your sister? How weird is that?
Comparing her to her 18-year-old self, her child self.
Yeah,
her
I agree.
Second puberty that women have in their early 20s self.
Yeah.
I understand if she put on some weight, but comparing her to 10 years ago is fucking insane. So of course I had to educate him on all that. We move past and continue the conversation. So we continue to go to a bar across the street. While we're walking, he pushes me over to stand on the side of the sidewalk that's closest to traffic. But he makes a remark about how doing that switch is stupid in the city because you're always switching to different streets and it's just a hassle and it's just annoying to have to switch sides. And that's when I start to notice that every single gentleman thing he was doing was performative, like on purpose so I would notice he was doing it. And I've experienced—
ew, no. Like, you either... Like, you just know when people, whether it's a woman or a man, pretend that they have manners or pretend to do certain things for, like, just for the show. Like, I can't stand that. Like, you either do it, like, it's like your personality, right? It's like personality trait. You either do it, those things, or you don't. Like, simple.
That in the past.
Why would you pretend?
They do that in the beginning, and it's like, oh, see, look what I'm doing. 2 weeks later, that shit's done, and there's no more gentlemen.
Yeah, how you gonna keep it up?
I note that, and I continue on.
Wow,
We're a couple drinks in at the new bar, and I notice that he's trying to, like, flex his intelligence on me. Like, make me feel less than, like, mention things that he doesn't think that I'll know what he's talking about. He's naming artists and different authors and quotes and movies and all that. Then we're talking about classic movies, and he's like, oh yeah, I know there's a movie for a fact you haven't seen, because there's no girl I've ever met who's seen it, and no girls have ever seen this movie ever. And the motherfucker said,
mate, are you trying to impress her? Or are you trying to, like, purposely fail this date? Like, are you trying to find, like, a girlfriend? Because it doesn't, sure don't sound like it.
as The Godfather. Huh? I took a film criticism class, bitch. What do you mean I haven't seen The Godfather? Also, I know so many fucking girls who have seen that movie. Like,
Yeah.
what? What are you talking about? Bye. Basically, I know 90 to 95% of what he's talking about while he's actively trying to be an ass, and I'm just trying to add to the conversation, and it's making him really frustrated, and it's really obvious. Then, randomly, while I'm talking mid-conversation, he kisses me, right? He goes in and he kisses me. This man tries to suffocate me with his tongue. I'm talking, never in my life did I think a tongue could go that far back in a throat. And I'm actively backing away. I'm moving away. I'm actively trying to push.
Do people not like feel when it's like a right time to kiss someone? He just literally like tried to belittle you or like, oh yeah, you never seen this. Oh yeah, you never heard of this. And then goes in for a kiss. It's like, bro, like, did you think this was going good? Like, what? Or was he trying to show, like, that he's smarter than you and thought that they will impress you? What?
His tongue out of my fucking mouth like fucking sword fighting. And he backs up and I'm like,
right, girl, I can't see anything.
And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, bold move. And he's like, oh yeah, I only did that because, like, we're vibing. Who told you we were vibing?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Maybe he's just really drunk. Like, let me give it a chance. And just so you guys know, there were good points in this conversation.
Okay.
It wasn't all absolutely insane. It's just looking back now, I noticed what the fuck was going on.
Oh.
But I'm trying to give it a chance. I'm thinking, you know, people get nervous on dates. They make assumptions. Like, let's just let it flow, you know? He originally had wanted to go out in Brooklyn. And I said to him pre the date that we have to meet in the city because going back on public transportation to Jersey at that time of night is an absolute fuck no.
Yeah.
So he knew that.
Good
That I was
call.
going home. I said I was going home after this date. But he starts asking me about going and staying overnight with him. But I'm brushing it off. And he keeps asking me. I'm like,
girl,
listen,
like, how, like, what if he's a serial killer? Like, what? Like, no. No.
one, I'm not doing anything with you. Two, I'm on my period. Like, I just want to be home. I have a cat. Like, whatever my reasonings were. But I had valid reasons. And he's like, look, no worries. I wasn't even thinking that at all. Like, just come over. We'll listen to music. If you decide to stay, get breakfast in the morning.
no.
You know, no pressure. He's like, if we leave now, like, we can go get
Girl.
burgers on the way at this spot that I know. And I'm like, you know what? It's like 1 a.m. Maybe I'll just do it. It's closer to go to him than to go home to me. Like, okay. Now, hindsight is 2020. My ass, I should have just taken my ass home. I just should have fucking went home, but I didn't, and here we are, and now I'm telling the story, blah, blah. So on the way we're walking to the burger place, he starts talking about how he makes friends everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, me too. And he's like, no. He cuts me off. He's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I make friends everywhere. I'm like, okay, you know what?
Right, already from this conversation, I can just, like, gather that this guy, like, clearly wants to be, like, the leader in everything. He wants to be the best. So I think as a kid, he probably didn't win any competitions, or he came second all the time because, like, he needs to have, like, one over you, like, constantly. Like, what therapy? Like, he needs therapy, okay?
If I don't understand, I don't understand. Like, whatever you want, dude. We get there, and he starts talking to the cashier and the other line cook that was there. Like, he's flexing and chatting, and it's so painfully obvious that they are actively laughing at him. He's trying to make some connection, but, like, they can tell how drunk he is and how drunk, like, oh my God, it was so bad. But I walk away, I let him do his thing, and then as we're leaving, he's like, yeah, see, that's what you get with me. He's like, friends everywhere. I'm like, okay, big guy, okay. So we are now on the subway, and we hadn't been talking for like a solid like 5 minutes. And so I was like, okay, you know what, let me make some conversation. So I look at him and I'm like, oh, so you told me this, whatever it was about your family, and I go to ask a follow-up question. He cuts me off mid-question and is like, no. He's like, no more questions. You got enough out of me tonight.
Stop.
But like, he said it in all serious, like he meant it. So I'm like, whoa, forgive me for being curious and just trying to fill some silence. And he's like, what, you're not comfortable in silence? Once again, in all seriousness, I'm like, yeah, I'm comfortable in silence. Bitch, I'll show you silence. You will never hear a motherfucking word out of me
That's
ever
me.
again. Like, I just met you. Why would I be comfortable in silence with you? Two, it's not even about that. You clearly weren't comfortable with silence for the past 3 hours because if I recall correctly, you talked pretty much the entire fucking time.
Showing
So
off.
we continue on in this silence, and he looks at me and he goes, can I give you some advice?
Oh,
And I look at him and I go,
I'm like, what this, like, any guesses what this advice could be? Leave a comment, because what is he gonna say? Like, what advice is he gonna give? Let me just guess. Wait. That you need to be more open, or maybe you need to be more friendly. Like, what is he gonna say?
no, you can't. Because at this point, I'm done. And he says to me, when you kiss someone, maybe use less tongue. So I say, me use too much tongue? You were trying to kill me. You were actively trying to make...
He did not. Girl, he nearly suffocated you. Like, what? Maybe he thought it was you. Maybe he was, like, how drunk was he? Maybe he thought that his tongue was your tongue.
Make it so that I couldn't breathe. And he just, like, laughed it off. The audacity. Like, is this train headed to Delusionville? Like, am I in the fucking Twilight Zone? So we get back to his stop, and he's right off, like, his apartment's right off the fucking stop, and I am just so ready to go home. Like, I'm so ready. But I'm in Brooklyn at this point, and it's 2 a.m., and I'm thinking, you know what? Let me just get 3 hours of sleep and then head out. Because at least at 5 a.m., there'll be people going to work, the sun will be coming up, you know. We get in, we listen to a little music, he starts undressing, and is like, is that what you're wearing to bed? Because I'm fully clothed. And I'm like, yeah, I told you I'm not doing anything with you. And he's like, yeah, no, of course, consent king. But like, if you're feeling a vibe and you want to do something for me, you totally can. So yeah, he went to the bathroom and I dipped. Fuck Hinge, and all the weirdos.
Oh my god. Like, this wasn't like the worst. I feel like many people actually relate to this, like, date story, because like we heard some scary stories, like crazy people, but like this one is like low-key a normal guy you're gonna date with that does these subtle things that are just like cray, and like the audacity and everything. Like, many people relate to this, but still, like, yeah, I would not go to his apartment, but like, you should have probably went home. Like, crazy. Like, this is the guy that probably he thinks that he's a gift from God, and like he's got everything going for him, and then like gives you advice, and like he needs to see a therapist. Like, I'll tell you, he needs to go to therapy. He's definitely got some childhood issues, like coming second or like not winning any competitions in school or something, and then like he reflects all his bad points onto someone else, and like, oh yeah, you can't kiss, maybe because he's been told before. Like, yeah, it's an odd one. It's not the worst that we had, but like this is definitely like that your average date story that people relate to. Anyway, guys, we're joined by my dog, who literally tried to like take over the show, and like I couldn't even see half of it. But please like and subscribe. I appreciate it so much, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Mwah.